The Eagles released a sneak peek from practice, so now we all can't but help thinking about the upcoming season, but which three rookies are projected to have the biggest impact? And the Birds signed a former favorite target of Jalen Hurts, but made sure to leave one roster spot open. Are Ndamukong Suh or Myles Jack coming to Philly? And hear what ESPN is saying about Nolan Smith's sack projections and why could he be the next Trent Cole? Let's talk about it, but first, let's run it. Hey guys, hope you're having a great Tuesday. I'm Josh and I cover the Birds. So the Eagles released some recent practice footage of Jalen Hurts with a smooth throwing motion to receivers including Devontae Smith, AJ Brown, and Quez Watkins because after all, the grind never stops. And if you didn't notice Howie Roseman in the background, he's also never off the clock. How great is this squad? The unfair part about releasing this footage was that it only whet the appetite and left us asking for more.
What I said was, give me all the bacon and eggs you have.
Thankfully, the Eagles' Twitter account obliged and shared some more footage from the defensive side of the ball with Nolan Smith, Jalen Carter, Moro Ojomo, and even Josh Sweat can be seen there. I'm super excited, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. Yes, they look good in a couple drills, but just about every prospect is going to look promising on a couple short highlight clips. Who am I kidding? These guys are impressive, and one guy who impressed enough from rookie camp was Charleston Rambo. As it was reported, the Eagles have signed the XFL wideout while waiving tackle Jared Williams. And as NBC Sports points out, the notable part of this roster move is that Rambo was one of Jalen Hurts' top targets at Oklahoma in 2019. Who caught 43 passes for 743 yards and 5 touchdowns. Rambo eventually transferred to Miami in 2021, where he hauled in 79 catches, 1,172 yards, and 7 touchdowns. But he went undrafted last season. Rambo spent last summer in training camp with the Carolina Panthers before he was waived at final cuts. He was then drafted by the Orlando Guardians of the XFL. In the 2023 season, Rambo had 35 catches on 49 targets for 430 yards and 3 touchdowns. He was 10th in the XFL in receiving yards. It's also worth pointing out that Rambo is now one of 11 wide receivers on the roster, so while I like the signing, there's definitely not a guarantee that he'll make the roster. The more interesting piece to me is what Greg Richards noticed by tweeting, "Pretty sure that the Eagles already had an open roster spot before signing Rambo and didn't have to cut Williams to make room. It seems to me that they're saving a roster spot for someone." So the question is, could that perhaps be for Ndamukong Suh? After Around the NFL shared, he's unlikely to sign with his next squad before training camp, but Suh said, "When week 1 happens, I'll be ready." Or, according to ESPN, the extra roster spot is being saved for Myles Jack because Bill Barnwell thinks Jack seems like an obvious fit. The 27-year-old was originally drafted by the Jaguars in 2016, and their general manager at the time was David Caldwell, who now works for the Eagles. Jack's calling card has typically been his range and coverage, but his numbers haven't been impressive over the last couple seasons. He allowed passer rating marks north of 100 in his final season with the Jaguars and his lone year with the Steelers. Those teams paid Jack a combined $17.8 million over the past 2 seasons, but a big money deal is not going to happen in Philadelphia or anywhere else in 2023. If Jack wants to continue playing, though, the Eagles would be an ideal landing spot in terms of national attention. Philly's deep defensive line should also help keep blockers off of Jack, giving him the best possible chance to make plays. Many Jaguars fans would argue that Jack was unfairly denied a chance to go to the Super Bowl, and going to the Eagles would give the linebacker his best opportunity to make one this season. What do you guys think? There's definitely the cap space for something like this. But, I mean, you got Myles Jack. Yes, there's some veteran presence, experience, his leadership. But then also, there is, like the article mentioned, the pass coverage, and then you have some injury concerns. I don't know. I'm not necessarily against it, but it would depend on how much you can get him to sign for. But I'm kind of intrigued to see how the new additions we already have can perform. It's hard not to buy into the hype, and Bleacher Report is also backing the newly drafted Eagles after they listed the rookies who will make an instant impact in the 2023 season, and it may not be a surprise to see Jalen Carter as a guy at the top of the list after Jake Rill said Carter is so talented that he could become an immediate starter in Philadelphia. but the team will need to determine how to balance playing time for its wealth of strong defensive tackles, a group that also includes Fletcher Cox and Jordan Davis. There's a good chance Carter impresses throughout training camp and the preseason and bumps Davis from one of the two starting spots at defensive tackle. Those two and Cox will all play a lot during the upcoming season, but the former Bulldog may end up being the best of the trio, especially when he gains a bit of NFL experience. I could see that, sure, but let's also not forget Milton Williams and Moro Ojomo. And who knows if another veteran defensive tackle like Ndamukong Suh will be signed before we reach the regular season. But either way, the depth on this D-line is unbelievable. It's really a luxury to not have to have your first round pick play a ton of snaps or make a really positive impact. But I do agree, I think Jalen Carter will be better and better as the season goes along. And I'd be more surprised if he wasn't a starter than anything else. But what do you guys think? Another spot on the roster that seems to be up for grabs based on multiple reports is safety, and according to Bleacher Report, rookie Sidney Brown could secure a starting role heading into his 2023 debut campaign. Philadelphia's top three safeties will be Reed Blankenship, an undrafted rookie last season, Terrell Edmunds, a free agent acquisition, and Brown, with two of them starting. All three should be involved in the mix. So if Brown doesn't end up as a starter, the Illinois product will likely still get opportunities to contribute. Brown may also land a starting job though. He played a lot over his 5-year career with the Fighting Illini and showed his big play ability during his final season in 2022 when he nabbed 6 interceptions. That type of spark could be what the Eagles secondary needs. And John McMullen of SI.com also agreed with the spark Brown provides, saying he would pencil in the Illinois prospect as the day one starter. One thing we can count on, at least for now anyway, is that Sidney Brown has moved from the number 43 to 21 per the Eagles website after Andre Chachere was released. I kind of liked 43 for a safety, but I'm also fine with 21. What do you guys think? And also, what do you think about Sidney Brown being a potential day one starter? I wouldn't be opposed to Howie going out and signing another veteran Pro Bowler for the season at safety, but I'm also very interested to see how Brown would do, because remember, this is a guy who's all about studying until it's unconscious competence. After he spoke in his introductory press conference saying, right now it's about learning the defense, competing, and just being the best version of myself every day. Proving, earning respect. That's my mindset going into this. It's not, yeah, there's an opportunity to start. It's about, what do I do to earn the respect of the guys around me, especially the guys who have been here for much longer than I have. And that's why I say give him a shot. Let the cream rise to the top, and the best player plays. I love his attention to detail and the fact that he seems to do everything right. Speaking of doing things the right way, Nolan Smith is the other member expected to have an immediate impact. With Bleacher Report, Smith brings 4 years of college experience with him to the NFL, where he'll be joining Eagles' linebacking core that has plenty of talent. He may not have a starting role in 2023, considering Hassan Reddick and free agent acquisition Nicholas Morrow should be set on the outside spots, but that won't stop Smith from making an impact though. He should become part of the edge rusher rotation along with Reddick and several defensive ends, such as Josh Sweat and Brandon Graham. Everybody will have the ability to stay fresh because of that depth. Smith is also a versatile athletic player who could move around the defense and thrive. So perhaps Philadelphia will do that to get the rookie even more involved early in his career. I'm hopeful they get Smith involved early in his career, and I love that he's in Sean Desai's system because I could definitely see Smith being used in a ton of different ways. He's not just your prototypical edge rusher. However, ESPN isn't so sure as they released their sack total projections for the first 5 seasons in Nolan Smith's career, saying he would be averaging less than 4 sacks per year. Since his college production was not great, Smith recorded only 12.5 sacks and 4 passes defended in 38 games with the Bulldogs. He is also undersized at only 239 pounds. It's easy to characterize him as a workout warrior, and there is certainly a long list of players who performed at the combine but could not produce at college or NFL levels. However, success for Smith is far from impossible, as several edge rushers with relatively low college production and great workouts have become good pros, including Michael Johnson and the aforementioned Eagles great Trent Cole. Hang on, so first they go on to say Nolan Smith isn't going to have a great start based on the analytics, but then it sounds like they're kind of hedging their bets because, Trent Cole comparison? The dude was a beast and had 47 sacks in his first 5 seasons, which, is a very far cry from the 19.6 projection for Nolan Smith. Now, I understand that this team is probably a little bit deeper on the D-line, so the opportunities may not be as often in the earlier portion of Smith's career, but I still think Nolan Smith is turned loose, given a lot of opportunities in this defense, and he's different. He's going to put up some crazy numbers. One player who needs to have a strong season is Derek Barnett, with a report surfacing that Barnett could be in danger of being cut by Philly after NFL and college football writer David Kenyon said, "At first glance, this may look stunning. Derek Barnett recorded at least 20 pressures from 2019 to 2021 before a torn left ACL ended his 2022 campaign in week 1. He's an inexpensive player at $3.1 million and, in my estimation, should be kept." Nevertheless, an edge-rushing depth chart headlined by Josh Sweat, Hassan Reddick, Brandon Graham, and first-rounder Nolan Smith warrants the conversation. That's ridiculous. Sure, you can make the case that Barnett's days in Philly are numbered, with Pro Football Focus giving Barnett a 61.8 grade for his play in 2021, and Barnett has not earned a 70 grade or higher from PFF in any season of his career. Plus, there's also the issue with penalties, and some of it may be in the wrong place at the wrong time, but others are totally avoidable. But it wouldn't make any sense to get rid of him because the Eagles would take a $10.6 million dead cap hit by releasing Barnett this offseason. Assuming the Eagles believe Barnett can contribute in any way this season, Philadelphia would be wiser to retain the pass rusher for one more year and address his future during the 2024 free agency. And I agree with that last part. Either way, it's time for Barnett to make a move because if he wants to be on the team longer, he's going to have a pretty good season. But what do y'all think? Will Barnett have a comeback season, or will this be his last ride with Philly? Let's move on. So as crazy as the Eagles' schedule is next season, Pro Football Focus highlighted that Darius Slay will have to run the gauntlet next season with Justin Jefferson in week 1, Mike Evans in week 3, Terry McLaurin in week 4, Garrett Wilson week 6, Tyreek Hill week 7, McLaurin again, CeeDee Lamb, Stephon Diggs, Debo, CeeDee again, DK Metcalf, and DeAndre Hopkins in week 17. That list right there makes me tired just reading it. It's a heavyweight matchup every single game.
They look like they've been in a war, these two.
Thankfully, Slay is a professional, and he's already preparing for this after he responded to the tweet saying, "Let me go ahead and start working on my hamstring some more." But Chad Johnson, Ocho Cinco, thinks Slay will be fine, but his understanding of having to play each receiver based on their skill set within the defensive scheme will be imperative. He has the freedom to go off script at times, knowing what's coming based off down and distance. And also, let's not forget, Slay gets to go up against A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith in practice, so he's more than prepared for this gauntlet. But he'll definitely be earning his keep with this schedule. I'm not too worried, though, because, again, the D-line plays a factor in this as well, and they're not going to put the DBs on an island, so I think he'll be fine. But what do you guys think? Will Slay be okay, and will he be able to hold up against this schedule? Talking about schedule, the Philadelphia Phillies announced that they will be moving the game that conflicted with the original Eagles Thursday Night Football home opener. So although it's still kind of lame that it's an opener on a Thursday night, at least it's not making both teams play on the same night. The NFL could have done better, though, and they also could have done better with a recent playoff announcement, as Adam Schefter reported that the NFL announced that Peacock will be the home for the first ever exclusive live-streamed NFL playoff game, presenting an NFL wildcard playoff in prime time on Saturday, January 13th, 2024. So congratulations to all of us, because now we'll have to buy a subscription to Peacock in order to watch a playoff game.
Greed, for lack of a better word, is good.
Hopefully the Birds are on another network, and this is maybe a moot point, but I can't say I'm surprised that the NFL is reaching to add more to their wallet. Reminder, live show with Thomas Mott tomorrow, 7 o'clock Eastern. We're giving away game tickets. This has been the Philly Special.